So, alright, we're gonna start with our room, gonna take a look at the Wall of Memories and then the reading table. Afterwards, we're gonna take a look at Harpocrates, gonna read everything there still is to read upon, and then to Vivian to see the state of the realm before we actually move on and make our way for Origin. But we're still missing two things back there. There are two things missing in here. So either I missed some side quest, or we will get this at the end when we finish the game, or this is when you finish all those monoliths, which I'm not gonna do. So in case you're wondering, I haven't done them. I have done just one stage, the very first one, the ice stage, just to see what it is. Then I read upon it and I was like, no, I don't care about the rewards. We're gonna continue. So let's take a look at all our memories, the ones which are still new to us. The Vale signboard. The emblem of the Vale North reaches far-famed House of Ill Repute. The town is the gateway to the imperial capital of Oriflamme, where waves of old money and new lap against the opposing sides of the Great Wall. However, the Vale's proprietor, Isabel, knows it best as a safe haven in a storm, the town that took in her and the man she loved when the rest of the world shunned them. Briar's Kiss signboard. The emblem of the Briar's Kiss, the finest forge in Dalamil, run by its puckish and precocious young forge master, Lubor. He inherited both his forge and the role of desert hare from his predecessor, the original Rosanna Dalamil. Though the mayoralty, I don't know how to say it, something with mayor.
Mayoralty.
Of Dalamil, he won entirely by his own merits. Well, not really. Actually, just because of the children who stopped the stoning, but okay. Clayhearth signboard. The emblem of the Undying's headquarters in Tabor. The Undying are a secret society sworn to serve House Rossfield, and more particularly the dominance of the Phoenix that are born into the Rossfield line. Such is their acolytes' faith in the Phoenix. They will gladly surrender their lives if it should be for the benefit of their master. And then the Stolas Quill. Lawsman Harpocrates' best-loved writing implement, whose ink has penned many a learned tome. It is said that the long quills of the Stolas become imbued with the wishes it hears over its long lifetime, the words just waiting to pour out onto the page. So should the day come that Clive puts down his sword and picks up the pen, he shall not find his one and only insurmountable enemy in writer's block. Okay, right. Then we do have a few more missives to read upon. Let's start with the one at the bottom. Before we depart. By Dion. Ifrit, you have my sincerest gratitude for reuniting me with Master Harpocrates, that I might embark upon this most important of journeys, my heart free of regret. Though in these past few moons I have come to realize that the longer I spend in the company of you and your brother, the deeper I find myself in your debt. We must swiftly see to the menace at its Ultima, if not to save the world, to save me from an eternity of recompense. He's so humble. Very nice. Safe Returns by Harpocrates II. Thank you, Clive, for ever indulging the whims of this doddering old soul. I am ashamed that for far too many years I allowed stubbornness and fear to keep me from something so simple as letting a friend know how proud I was of him. Your intervention has lifted a heavy pall from my heart. Perhaps upon your triumphant return from the skies, you might be inclined to set to page that quill I gifted you. There are many of us who would hear a first-hand account of your time with the Holy Prince, myself included. Next one, That Which Conquers All by Isabel. Here, not long removed from when last you placed yourself between us and peril, I sit and pen yet another letter in which I try and find the words to somehow express the gratitude of an entire town. Still, something feels different about our latest triumph. Where in the past we leaned ever so heavily upon your good graces, this time we found strength elsewhere, in ourselves. Our hardship has shown us that which should have been apparent all along. We are not as different as we want to believe. Does a peasant love his homeland any less than a noble? Does a bearer love his family any less than another man does his own? It is this love that has united us and given us true strength. Should every thrall, akashic, bandit, and brigand in the realm come charging our gates, we will not fret, we will not falter, we will fight, and we will win. Second to last, A New Day by Lubor. I am not so foolish to believe that a single shaming at the hands of the town urchins can dispel a lifetime of hatred built up in one's heart, just as a pot cannot be made clean by reminding it of its grime. It takes effort, persistence, and more often than not, a stiff brush and bucket of lye. But more than that, it takes time. Fortunately, your courage and leadership has granted us just that. We must now decide whether to embrace or to waste it. A wise man once said, "The night is always darkest before dawn." It is a good thing, then, I count one who burns so bright amongst my friends. And lastly, a note of thanks by Cyril, bearer of the Burning Quill. My Lord Marquis, I write to thank you for the kind consideration you have shown for those whose names are written within the pages of the Book of Martyrs. I know that it would move them deeply to know that the first shield of the Phoenix laments their passing. Though each and every member of our order stands ready to sacrifice their lives in service of the Phoenix, I do not doubt that those who are taken before their time go with regret for the long years of duty left undone. That they should live on in the memory of a proud son of House Rossfield such as yourself shall surely go some way to soothing their sorrows. May the Phoenix flame burn ever in your heart. Alrighty then, that was that. Now let's go to Harpocrates and then Vivian.
Good morrow to you, my friend.
Alright, let's talk about Dion first.
I well recall.
The time I spent at the Imperial Palace instructing the young prince on the history of our realm. He was quite unlike the other noble-born children I had taught, not only for the keenness with which he listened, but for the earnestness of his conviction.
He truly believed
that it was the Empire's duty to serve the people, and was determined to study the past that he might not repeat its mistakes. Which is the reason why that befell Twinside weighs so heavily on his soul. He must live with the consequences, and I fear it will take more than merely time to heal such wounds.
It will take forgiveness.
Not from you or me, nor his countrymen, nor even from his late father, no.
From himself.
Only then might his flower bloom again. And about origin?
Ah, yes.
You have arrived at a solution then. Dior will carry us.
Indeed.
A feat befitting the final act. I congratulate myself that I shall live long enough to see it. A feat in itself for a man of my years. But to be serious, it is no small thing to march against fate, Clive. You must be certain of your footing, lest the winds of destiny divert you from your course. Are you certain of your footing, Clive? I am.
Then go.
And do what you must.
I have compiled some new entries. If
So,
you would like to see them.
That should be the last stuff. Oh, Max.
I
Sage
believe you will
for
find
the
most
ages.
interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot to read upon, so let's get started. But then again, this should be the last time we're gonna read something. We're not quite sure what will happen at the end, because I haven't seen it yet. So we might come back and maybe able to read something after finishing Ultima, but I don't know. So let's say this is the last time, so let's dive right into it. Reverie. Hidden Truth. An impossibly tall tower in Central Ash that seems to pierce the very heavens. It was built by Ultima when he first arrived in Valistia. From its heights, he examined the flow of ether through the land and thereby determined the optimum placement for the mother crystals. The Sins of Zemeckis. Hidden Truth. An incident in which the Fallen launched an assault on the mother crystal Zemeckis to claim its power, and in so doing stoked the ire of Ultima himself. In response, the self-proclaimed god destroyed the crystal, leaving behind both a great yawning crater and a cautionary legend that has since spread throughout Valistia. A dominant hidden truth. Those within whom sleeps the power of an icon. The dominants are but a stepping stone in the creation of Ultima's perfect vessel, Mythos. When Ultima sowed the seeds of humanity, he imbued those assigned to protect each mother crystal with an elemental affinity, a power that would amplify over the generations until the icons eventually emerged. Though the memory of their power remains even after it is absorbed into Mythos, it takes an increasing toll upon their persons to summon it. The Fallen Hidden Truth. An ancient civilization that thrived some thousands of years before the present day. Though no direct records of the fallen remain, early legends in the modern corpus speak of them as the Men of Magitek, the pinnacle of whose magical technology was the airship, enormous cities that soared through the skies. Comparisons of the ruins of these airships and other ancient structures connected to Ultima reveal slight but marked differences, suggesting the former is but a close copy of the latter. Alas, it seems their pursuit of Ultima's most closely guarded secrets led to their downfall when they sent their fleet against Zemekis and ushered in the tragedy that saw their civilization fall. The Ultima Civilization, an ancient civilization of the godlike Ultima Collective. Their discovery of magic helped them to thrive, but came at a terrible cost: the onset of the Blight. After their cities fell and their people perished, the few survivors fled to the untouched land of Valistia to lay the groundwork for their future revival. The Apothecary beneath Phoenix Gate and the Tower of Reverie in Velout are both relics of their civilization and far predate those of the Fallen. A Reedstone Hidden Truth. A mysterious ceramic tablet that stands in the Hideaway. Though it closely resembles a relic of the Fallen, the way in which it reacts to Clive's presence and urges him to unlock his hidden potential suggests some connection to Ultima. It is likely that this stone, as well as other towers of similar construction that dot the landscape, were created by the creature before he entered his slumber, in order to aid in the perfection of his vessel Mythos. Obelisk Hidden Truth. Ancient technology of the Ultima Collective, set in place upon their advent to Valistia in order to guide the flow of ether toward the Mother Crystals, that the land's life force might be harvested all the more readily. The obelisks are separate entities to the Mother Crystals themselves, so the latter's destruction does not affect the former's function. After Ultima cast Primogenesis, the resulting imbalance in the ether made these obelisks glow all the brighter. I didn't realize that they are glowing brighter, but okay. The Children of Zemekis. The tribe who once dwelt in the lands surrounding the lost Mother Crystal of Zemekis. This Mother Crystal communicated directly with Origin, from whence Ultima kept watch on the world from his slumber, and so those people who lived around it had a closer relationship with their creator than most. It was they who founded the Circle of Malleus to keep the word of their lord and future savior alive. After the tragedy of Zemekis and the first fall of humanity, the few survivors of the Children of Zemekis fled to the Outer Continent, where they continued to worship their god and await the day when they would join him in paradise. The Savior Myth. Among the teachings of the Circle of Malleus is the story that the Lord Almighty delivered unto his children a prophecy of their future salvation before hiding himself away in the heavens. A myth that lived on in many of the folk religions that would later supplant it. Though long considered to be naught but a legend, it is possible that this reflects a real historical event, Ultima's final words to his humanity before he entered hibernation deep beneath Valistia. The few remaining sources disagree on Ultima's precise wording, but on 4 points they all align. That on some future day of reckoning, the incarnation of the Lord would appear among mankind and remake the world. That the advent of this incarnation would be heralded by the emergence of several heavenly servants of great might. That the Lord's faithful should rally these servants together in order to bring the incarnation into being, and that for their loyalty they would be rewarded with the greatest gladness. Ultima's Thralls Hidden Truth. Soulless automata, largely composed of ether, whose only motivation is to see that their creator's will is done. Ultima gave them life upon first arriving in Valistia and immediately tasked them with defending the realm's shores from any outside forces that might seek to interfere in his endeavors. The deity now employs them solely to test the strength and durability of his self-proclaimed vassal Mythos. And the Journal of Moss, a Hidden Past. The Annals of Moss the Chronicler, a scholar of Valistian history who unearthed many of the buried secrets of Ultima and the Circle of Malleus. Shortly after he encountered a young Harpocrates in the Outer Continent and inspired the boy's own pursuit of learning, Moss returned to the Twins, where his long years of wandering from ruin to relic in pursuit of the vestiges of Valistia's past finally drew to a close.
You wish to study the tomes?
And there's still some more, so we're gonna continue with Person of Interest. Gilvaric, a Hidden Past. Dominant of Shiva and trusted confidant of Clive, leader of the new Hideaway. Born a princess of the Northern Territories, Jill was made a ward of Rosaria after her father, the Silvermane's incessant raids were quelled by the duchy. She entrusted her icon to Clive after he was bested by King Barnabas, that he might have the strength to fight their fate to the last. Torgal, a Hidden Past. Clive's faithful friend. After the two were separated in the tragedy at Phoenix Gate, Torgal continued to search for his missing master, sniffing out anything that bore Clive's scent and carrying it home to their secret island Hideaway. It was during one of his forays on the mainland that he encountered Sid, who took the lonely Torgal in, fashioning an anklet for the love-lorn pup which he treasures to this day. Dion Lesage, a renewed resolve. Dominant of Bahamut, Warden of Light. Before he joined the Dragoons, Dion spent his youth studying that he might assist his father in ruling the Empire. On returning with Clive and Joshua to the Hideaway, he is reunited with his old tutor, Harpocrates, who inspires in him a renewed determination to bring Ultima's evil to an end. Gav, a hidden past. Sid's faithful scout, now one of Clive's closest and most trusted allies. Born the youngest son of a large family, he had always longed to be a big brother. However, just as his mother was ready to give birth to the sister he had impatiently awaited, his entire family were slain in an imperial raid on his village. Now, he has a new family in the members of the Hideaway and swears to protect them where his younger self could not. Miradol Talaman, her dream of flight. Adoptive daughter. Okay, I thought it was his real daughter. Interesting. Adoptive daughter of Sid, who saved her from the streets as a girl and raised her as his own. And raise her as his own he did, the young Mid following in her father's footsteps in perfecting his design for the Mithril engine. Though she fears the completed engine might be used for ill if the designs were to fall into the wrong hands, the dream of flight that she and her father shared is too great to see consigned to the dustbin of history. And so she continues to labor that one day that dream might become reality. Harpocrates II Hyperboreus, as Imperial Tutor. The Hideaway's resident historian. Before meeting Sid and moving in with his band of outlaws, Harpocrates dwelt in much grander surroundings, the Imperial Palace, where he served as tutor to Prince Dion. He bears a deep and lingering affection for his former charge, and on reuniting with Dion in the Hideaway, presented him with the gift of a wild wyvern tail that he might be reminded of the goodness within him and not punish himself unduly. Vivian Ninetails at the Hideaway. A scholar and strategist who makes her home in the Hideaway, offering her insight to Clive that he might better understand the lay of the land. Once a professor at the University of Canver, her dogged pursuit of the truth earned her the enmity of some of her less scrupulous colleagues. After learning of a plot on her life, she fled to the Hideaway and has been slowly but surely warming to her new surroundings ever since. Doris at Balmung Dark. Captain of the Cursebreakers, who directs their bearer-liberating operations. She learns that Chadwick, fellow bearer and brother-in-arms who helped her escape her former master, met his untimely end in the cursed depth of the Balmung Dark. He died the same hero he was in life, having fought until the bitter end to save the life of a young bearer girl. Doris swears to keep fighting herself that his legacy might live on. Amber. A Cursebreaker in training who wishes to make of himself a scout, that he might follow in the footsteps of his idol Gav. Though his test did not proceed entirely smoothly, he showed enough promise to warrant being accepted into the ranks for now. Quinton, as founding member of the Triunity, the inscrutable landlord of Lostwing's Tavern. After the village was swallowed by an ether flood, he and the survivors of his Lostwing family labored to build a new village in Galton's Bales. However, Clive convinced him to join his uncle's Triunity and put his oratorial skills to use not merely in leading Lostwing, but in restoring order to the entire realm. Isabel, a hidden past. Proprietress of the Vale, Northreach's foremost house of ill repute. Before coming to Northreach, she was Carla, courtesan to the nobility in the Crystalline Dominion. However, she was forced to flee when she fell in love with the bearer. The Vale took them in, and though her love was not to survive, her gratitude to the people of Northreach lives on to this day. Lubor as mayor. Forge master of the Briar's Kiss, the finest smithy in Dalamil, and mayor of the town. After his bearerhood was revealed, he was almost driven from Dalamil by the disapproving townspeople. However, they were convinced to change their preconceptions after Lubor led the defense of the town from a horde of Akashic bandits, and with the support of both the Town Guard and the Merchants Guild, he won the Mayoralty. And to be honest, I've been reading quite a lot lately, and I have a feeling I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I hope I can push through. Cyril, following the tragedy at Mickelberg, a senior member of the Undying, known as the bearer of the Burning Quill. He and his order devote their lives to the service of the Phoenix and do not fear death, so long as it comes in the course of their duties. Though Clive takes exception to what appears at first glance a pointless waste of human life, the two come to see each other eye to eye, Cyril expressing a deep gratitude for the regard Clive shows his fallen comrades. Elwyn Rosfield, a hidden past. Late Archduke of the Grand Duchy of Rosaria and father of Clive and Joshua. During his reign, he strove to bring an end to the mistreatment of bearers and his people's reliance on magic, a mission that he knew would meet with fierce opposition from the court nobility and would not be achievable within his lifetime. That his sons might follow in his footsteps, he fashioned for them a pair of matching armbands to give them strength when all stood against them. Byron Rosfield as founding member of the Triunity, younger brother of the late Archduke Elwyn and warden of Port Isolde. Together with Field Marshal Eugen Havel and Master Quinton of Lostwing, he founds the Triunity, an accord that sets out how the nobles, armies and common folk of Valistia shall come together to see the crises that blight the realm, want of food, water, security and shelter ended and order restored. The High Cardinal for Northreach. First and foremost of the 5 cardinals who made up the Council of Elders, second only to the Holy Emperor in the imperial government. After the fall of the Crystalline Dominion and the collapse of said government, His Eminence reappeared in Northreach, planning to turn the town into a new capital for a new Sunbreak. However, when the people rallied behind Isabel instead, he realized that he must work with the common folk, not lord over them. Sabine, fighting for Northreach. Only daughter of the Duke of Oriflamme, who fomented revolt against her father's plans to fortify Northreach at the townspeople's expense. After the Duke is convinced of the error of his ways, the two are reconciled and pledge to work together with the people of Northreach to build a town for all her citizens. Eugen Havel as founding member of the Triunity, former Field Marshal of the Dalmacian Republic. At the insistence of his old friend and rival, Byron Rosfield, he was convinced to return to the front lines in the defense of the realm, using his old military connections to bring the dissipated armies of Valistia back under control. Right, on we go, lay of the land. The Cursebreakers joining the ranks. A unit drawn from those of fighting age and martial training among the residents of the Hideaway who conduct operations to liberate bearers from slavery. Beginning in Sid's Hideaway, the order was greatly expanded by its ranks and its operations since the move to Benamir. While Otto manages their activities, day-to-day operations are led by Doris and Cole. Potential new recruits must undergo rigorous training and pass an induction test before joining the Cursebreakers' ranks. Northreach, following the attack of the Thralls, a town which once acted as a defensive gateway to Sunbreak's holy capital of Oriflamme. Not long after the skies took a turn for the ominous and most of the old capital was lost to an ether flood, the Imperial High Cardinal arrived with designs to build a new empire, but at great cost to the citizens of Northreach. It was at this time Ultima's thralls descended upon the fields both north and south of the Great Wall, forcing those citizens to choose between abandoning their town or fighting, and possibly dying, for those they loved. The people chose the latter, and after a hard-earned victory, the High Cardinal was finally convinced to join hands with Madame Isabel, and a modicum of order was at long last restored. The Dalimil Inn under new leadership. A literal oasis, Dalimil offers goods, food, and respite to those travelers who make the long march through western Dalmacia's sweltering Velcroyd desert. Since the fall of Drake's Fang, however, what was once a constant flow of visitors has dried to all but a trickle, leaving the town in dire straits and tensions amongst its citizens high. When faced with a horde of Akashic bandits beating at both their gates, Lubor, renowned blacksmith, convinced the town guard and its league of merchants to put aside their differences and join hands to fight for their people's survival. For his accomplishment, he earned not only the respect of his peers, but with it the position of mayor, despite being a bearer. Cheratina, a humble settlement situated on the far northern edge of western Dalmacia's Velcroyd Desert. Though long abandoned by its original residents, the so-called League of Outlaws had taken up residence here for a time, but the sudden arrival of an ether flood rendered the bandits Akashic, all but sealing the village's fate. Balmung Dark, a Colosseum-like prison located immediately north of Ravenwood Walls in the Kingdom of Balut. Bearers sent here became the unfortunate subjects of an ambitious military endeavor designed to train untrainable beasts of war. When the kingdom fell and the wards lost their wills to the ether, those same bearers were left in their cells to starve, which most did. Mikkelberg, a settlement situated in the south of Velude. After being abandoned by its former residents, it became something of a gathering place for followers of the Savior cult recently arisen on Ash, leading the Undying to dispatch an investigative mission there. Garnik, an idyllic mountain village in the kingdom of Velude, or at least what remains of it. Here, an old acquaintance of Harpocrates made his home, quietly amassing a vast collection of rare tomes before Ultima and Barnabas' machinations rendered the realm akashic and stripped him of his very will. The Badbach Conservatory, a dilapidated orphanage for bearers that sits upon a hill overlooking the verdant plains of Vidagres in Velude. The children who lived here were not cared for, but rather experimented on, enduring harrowing tortures designed to turn them into fearless, mindless weapons, an education that few were to survive. Savior Cult, a religion that has arisen in recent years in Ash and which has its basis in the Circle of Malleus, an ancient faith whose followers worshipped Ultima as a god. It was popularized by King Barnabas Thorm of Velude, who spread his prayers and rituals among his people. Believers see becoming akashic as a means of achieving purity and of being freed from the torments of the mortal realm. And lastly for this, the Triunity of 878. An alliance formed by Lord Byron Rosfield of the Seven High Houses in the comfort of his well-appointed mansion in Port Isolde. According to the agreement reached between those he summoned to his aid, Lord Rosfield would take charge of supplies, Field Marshal Eugen Havel of military affairs, and Quinton of Lostwing would handle political affairs. With these key angles covered, they hoped to lead Balestier forward on a path of unity. Given their home countries of Rosaria, Dalmacia and Sunbreak respectively, the name of the famed Treaty of Old all but suggested itself. And lastly, Mysteries of the Realm. Airship Hidden Truth. Legend has it that the people of the Fallen once sailed through the skies in the bellies of these ships, though all now lie shattered and silent on the surface below, the Invincible, in which Clive and his allies have built their new hideaway, being one such relic. So advanced was the Fallen's technology, it was nigh indistinguishable from magic, leading a historian of the early modern era to remember them as the Mene of Magitech, or Men of Magical Technology. It is Mid's dream to bring this technology back to life, that humanity might take flight once more. The Deluge of Blood. A great war that occurred in ancient times between the few who bear the blessing and the many who do not. It ended in decisive victory for the unblessed masses and the signing of the Continental Accord, which cemented the systematic subjugation of the bearer minority. It was not until 100 years later that the first icons were to emerge, their human hosts being named Dominants after the savior myth of the Circle of Malleus, which held that the Lord's return would be heralded by the appearance of his heavenly servants, most wondrous and most dominant. Such was the awesome power of these creatures that the authorities had no option but to exempt them from the system of slavery, announcing them to be something other than a lowly bearer and deserving of the highest honor, lest they should side with their fellow oppressed and bring a second deluge upon the masters' heads. Akashic Hidden Truth. The irreversible change brought about by a living being's overexposure to ether. Creatures are stripped of any intelligence or sense of self they may once have had and become suffused with life force, usually manifesting as extreme strength and aggression. Ultima's casting of Primogenesis turned much of mankind directly, gifting Barnabas his Akashic army, and with the despair they wrought he sought to strip the wills of the rest, making them in his eyes pure. The Executors. A shadowy cabal who control the truth of the realm by collecting and concealing any knowledge they believe should remain hidden. They appear to view themselves as the guardians of humanity, protecting people from what would only cause them pain. From a distance, the shameful history of the enslavement of bearers is but one of the books the Executors would see expunged from the public record. And last but not least, the book From a Distance. A tome that lays bare the buried truth of the avarice and vanity of mankind. Upon its publication, the powers that be did everything in their power to inherit once more, along with its author. It tells the history of the bearers, those once worshipped and adored as bearers of the heavenly blessing, earning them the moniker they hold to this day, and how they came to be despised, oppressed, and enslaved by the unblessed masses. The shadowy executors seize any copy that surfaces in order to protect humanity from the painful knowledge contained within its pages, or so they claim. But then again, I'm quite certain I heard something about there is a first edition of Bible in a way which differs from the normal Bible, I want to say, the Catholic one, I don't know how to say it. And that this original Bible has some verses and paragraphs which are left out in this, I want to say, new Bible, just because people of faith decided not to display those passages as they are contradicting other facts inside the Bible. And I also read a book about Rastafarianism, and it shows how people from different, I want to say, specters of religion or belief system or whatever, or beliefs, interpret the Bible. And it was said that there are different, I want to say, groups of Rastafaris who interpret the Bible differently. So the ones are living normal like everybody else, and then there are the ones who are, for example, who are putting their hairs up, their dreadlocks, and they put not a scarf, but you know what I mean, some cloth around it so that nobody can see the hair actually. And the main reason is because of the stories of Samson, the one who was very strong and tall, and when the people cut his hair, he got weaker. So this is why their hair is actually like saint in a way, so that nobody is allowed to touch it or to see it or even to cut it or to wash it. And this is why they are dreadlocks. And there was another thing in the Bible where it's written like, let the plants grow or something, or let the grass grow, something like that. And another Rastafari group said, or interpreted that as God telling them to use marijuana for medicinal purposes, for healing the body, for getting closer to God himself in a way, because of visions and stuff. Yeah, that's what I read. I read this, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And I still think about it sometimes, especially if I read something like this. I do have a connection to this book. And quite interesting. Oh, I forgot something. Thought this was the last one. There's one more red dot somewhere I missed. Oh, down there. Wyvern tail. Their use in branding. The elegant white flower that is a symbol of the Holy Empire of Sunbreak. From its roots is distilled the dye with which the bearer brand is inscribed. The dye is highly poisonous when it enters the bloodstream, and so it is not uncommon for bearers to lose their lives, either upon receiving their brand or during an inexorable attempt to remove it. While cultivated wyvern tails bear white blossoms, those that grow in the wild adopt a purple hue. And now we are actually through. But let me just check. I wasn't sure I had actually every little beast, but I do have everything. Awesome. Yeah, I wanna say this was the last time reading up on all this lore, and we actually got to learn a little bit more. And now we're going to Vivian to take a look at the state of the realm before we continue.
What will it be today?
First, let's talk about the executors.
Truth is but a matter of belief.
I certainly don't disagree. Though I am surprised to hear that an organization such as theirs holds such enlightened opinions. They put the scholars at the university in Canva to shame.
Alas.
They shame themselves in turn by burying evidence of a truth they would rather mankind did not come to know. They may imagine themselves the protectors of the people, but ignorance is not bliss, no matter how fervently they might wish it. Yeah, definitely. And about Origin.
Well, Clive?
Are you resolved to brave the coming battle, no matter the cost?
I am.
For only with Ultima's death might we ever find true freedom, and when we do, I'll be counting on you to help teach this world the truth.
Naturally.
But I'll need you to do something for me in return. Come back to us in one piece. For how am I to recount the true history of this world without a first-hand account of the heroics of those who fought to change it?
I shall.
We shall all be praying for your safe return.
What is it that you wish to learn?
The advent of Origin. The final Mother Crystal has fallen, but in its place arises something even more sinister. A bizarre, ancient relic that Ultima names Origin emerges from the ground beneath the crystalline dominion and becomes swathed in black, standing vigil in the Valestian skies like some malevolent new Mother Crystal. The final battle. Clive and Joshua return to the Hideaway and share what they learned of Ultima's true ambitions with their allies. Together, they swear to fight him to the end, that a new world might be created, not Ultima's, but one where his creations can finally live on their own terms. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go into the final battle. We're gonna make our way to Origin and confront, fight, and hopefully slay Ultima first try. And then we're gonna see how the story unfolds and how it ends. But before we actually do that, I'm gonna do just one little thing, and I hope I won't die on my way to Ultima. I'm gonna buy the final elixir just so that we have the chance to survive a little bit longer.
Still alive, are you?
Oh, but first let's talk about Origin. Here to say your goodbyes, are you?
Ta-ra then.
For now, but you'd better come back, or I'll fly up there and drag you home by your ear.
Thank you, Charon.
Didn't think you'd find the thought appealing. Look, just don't die, alright? A change in leadership's bad for business. Aye, you're off to kill a god, so what? You've done everything else you've put your mind to, haven't you?
You could do this too.
Yeah.
If you're gonna buy some, be quick about it.
Oh, last elixir, not final. So it says upon KO automatically restores all HP and fills limit gauge and increases attack power by 10% and defense by 30 for 60 seconds. It says upon KO. Do I have to equip it or does it just have to be in my inventory? I don't know.
It'd better all be here.
We're just gonna take it and then see how it works. And if we will die, then if we will get to use it or not. And it looks like there's just one. I don't know if the others will have it too or if it's just sold out there too. But it seems like there's just one. Alright then, my last look around here. And yes, I see the Reedstone, and yes, I have not finished the monolith. I didn't do the trials whatsoever, just one little stage. First one with Shiva. So I hope I can finish Ultima without getting those rewards over there, because I really don't want to do it. And if we need to, I will see you right here again, guys. But if I'm just continuing the story from here, then you know we have finished without using those special rewards from those monoliths and the time trials. Alright guys, so this is me from the future. It's the 11th of November 2024 actually, because I have actually finished the game in 2023, exactly 1 year ago on the 9th of November. But there are still 2 DLCs to be played. Echoes of the Fallen and The Rising Tide, and we will do these next before we actually make our way to Ultima. So then, next week we will start Echoes of the Fallen, and as soon as we are through with this, we will go through the Rising Tide DLC as well. And I can't wait to see what's going on in those DLCs and how tough the bosses will be actually. And yeah, so see you next week then with Echoes of the Fallen.